Hello, Facebook family and friends. It's yours truly, Antonio Lipscomb. I am your host. Black Power presents, and we have a wonderful, wonderful broadcast for you again on this sunny day of the new week. We are certainly excited about all of what is going on in our city today, and we want to make sure that we bring around us people who can help us navigate, especially through this COVID virus problem. So as we prepare to go on the radio broadcast, we're doing some commercials now and we'll be counted in and so forth. But I wanted to get a running start on this broadcast so that you all can see some of the information that we're receiving as it relates to this COVID virus situation. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys right now and start talking to you about, yes, sir.
Okay, so have you sent me the email? So are you going to Facebook Live or are you doing it through StreamYard?
I'm on StreamYard right now. And I'm on Facebook right now.
Okay. I'm about to text you my email address.
Okay. So we're on vaccines here, getting ready for the broadcast, and I'm going to plug the radio station in here. So you guys just be patient with me for a second.
So go ahead. I just text you my email. Go ahead and send the link so I can log in the StreamYard.
Okay, we'll be sending that link to you right now as we are preparing ourselves for this broadcast. Let me see here. Hey, Adrian, you should have the link now. It's been emailed to you, and we're actually live on Facebook. So, okay, we're actually live on Facebook, and the radio station should be coming in here soon, guys. And just prepare yourself if you would like to be a part of the radio broadcast. Only thing you would have to do is go to 1310. Excuse me. You go to the 1310 broadcast online, or you could also call 317-205-7058. Yes, we're on live right now.
For some reason, your live's not coming through.
Well, actually, you just need to go through StreamYard. We sent you the link. Yep. So while we're doing that, while we're waiting, let me share my screen because I want to get some information in here while we're waiting. Due to the COVID virus, there is some notes here that I think that could benefit our community here. We have a situation as far as the evictions that's taking place. And so we want to share with you this information so that you would be privy of what's going on. Okay, let me try to send the link again. Okay, that's similar to why I called in earlier. I wanted this to be done. Well, tell me your link. It's A.
It's A-N, A for Apple, N for Nancy, Bell, B-E-L-L,
okay,
radio-1.com.
Okay, I sent it to you again, so we should be good. All right, so getting back to our broadcast here, as we share our screen again, I want you to follow what's going on as far as the evictions. I believe the governor has put out some information due to August 14th. I believe the chairman is trying to get information to the African American community about the evictions, and this actual Governor Holcomb is enforcing this CARE Act to be included so that people can be included. So just hold on for a second, guys. I'm getting ready to come on the radio broadcast.
All right, I got your music playing now.
Okay, turn it up some so I can hear it. Turn it up some more.
That's as loud as it goes.
Okay. We're actually getting to go on the air in a couple of seconds, guys, and I'll get started back to this about this eviction process. Thank you for your patience.
All right, you are on. Go ahead.
All right, radio listening audience, it's yours truly, Antonio Lipscomb. I am so glad to include you into our broadcast. We have a great show that's lined up for you. Again, I'm your host, Antonio Lipscomb with Black Power Presents. We're just excited about what's going on in our community, and we're going to update you on some information as we have our guests that are waiting patiently with us to discuss this criminal justice reform and also talk about AACI and what they're doing in the community and give us some reports about what's going on in the Black community. If you have any questions, feel free to call 339-1310, 317-239-1310, and you can be a part of this wonderful, wonderful broadcast. Let me go back to sharing my screen because obviously, when you look at the homeless population in Marion County, 60% of the homeless population is African-American people here in Marion County. So when you look at, the situation as far as how COVID has affected Marion County and also the provisions that have been made far as just enforcing the evictions, I believe that the state memorandum of evictions is actually going to end August 14th. And once that's done, then, of course, matters will be handled through the courts. Now, there is a federal care act of over $40 million that have been available, as well as additional $15 million that have been applied to this federal care act. And also, we believe that over 24,000 Hoosiers have submitted for this care act for as helping them not get convicted. And also we have the Lilly Foundation that also included $5 million that was given toward helping people stay in their homes. Now, there are some provisions that you would have to follow. There's some links that you would have to go on in order to be able to qualify yourself. And one of the links is IndianaHousingNow.org. That's IndianaHousingNow.org, that you can go on and apply for these funds. I think the requirements is the fact that you would have to prove that you were somehow affected by the COVID virus financially and you were not able to pay your rent due to some level of interruption in employment. And so now you could file for this provision. I got mixed feelings on some of this because some people have decided to stay in their homes, not due to the COVID virus situation. They just took it as a liberty not to pay rent. So, when you do that, then of course the law is going to kick in to where eventually you're going to be put out. But I have with us Willis Bright. He's here with us. Hey, Willis Bright, would you introduce yourself real quick? And I have also, I'm going to add on my other guest with us. But Mr. Bright, feel free to introduce yourself and the organization that you're with.
Sure. I'm Willis Bright, and I am chair of the African American Coalition of Indianapolis. The African American Coalition is a coalition of 20 plus social, civic, religious, and community organizations that have come together in order to increase the knowledge and participation of the African American community in the political process. And that includes everything from sponsoring forums such as a debate for the mayoral candidates to taking positions on issues that affect the community, such as police action shootings. ACI was one of those groups that tried to give a lot of energy to getting civilian representation on the use of force board. And that has been successful. There has been acknowledgement that there will be civilians. The question is whether they will be the majority. So those are the kinds of things that AACI has been involved in. And one of our big efforts is to get out the vote, to get people registered to vote. We were at the Black Men's Rally at the State House yesterday, trying to get people to register to vote. And that will be an ongoing effort.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Bright. So why is it important for people to be a part of this voting process?
Well, the voting process, first of all, determines who is going to be making decisions about financial resources of government, whether that is who's going to represent us in the national legislature, or who's going to in the Congress, or who's going to represent us in the state legislature. It gets to be about who are the people that understand what are the priorities that we might have in terms of housing, in terms of getting people health care, etc., and will act on that. And when we vote and our votes are counted and people know that they have a responsibility to us as voters, going to stay in office, they're going to be more inclined to do the kinds of things that we would consider essential for our well-being. So voting is a absolutely mandatory thing. And if nothing else, historically, many people, African Americans, died in order to ensure that we have that basic right, the ability to vote. And for us not to honor them, as well as to try to take advantage of our own best interest, is not only criminal, it's sinful.
Well, I totally agree with that. I mean, I think that the voting process has to be honored, especially I think if you're trying to make a difference in the community. I have a special guest. He's almost like a host almost, because he's been coming on our show pretty regularly. And when I think of a renowned person in politics, I think of Representative John Bartlett. He's one of the finest that we have. And so I'm so excited to bring him on. Mr. Bartlett, can you I got your mic, Doc. I got you. Can you share with us why should we be involved in the political process?
Yes, thank you again, Antonio, for inviting me. But the political process affects everything that you do throughout life, period. Your utility bills, how much groceries cost, how much taxes you have to pay, how you're governed when you go to court, how you are handled when you need information, dealing with your home. All of that's included in politics. And right now is a time when we certainly should be involved with the political system. And not only should you be involved with the political system, you should hold your elected officials accountable. And by that, a lot of folks say that, but you need to know what State Representative John Bartlett is voting for and what he's voting against. If there's something that you see in your area that you think needs a policy change or need to be addressed through policy, then you need to contact your state representative, your state senator. If it's a local issue, your city county councilor, and address those issues. Don't get upset with that elected official if you've not had your voice heard. However, if you call them and they won't return your calls, and they do not do what you need for them to do, then you need to address that. As a state representative, my job is to represent the ideology of my constituents, to represent the ideology of my constituents. And that's what I'm paid to do by the taxpayers, this great state, and that's what I should get done.
Well, absolutely. I think that is a great analogy of what we really need to know and understand. I got my good friend, Dr. Lionel Rush. Not only is he's my friend, but he's my pastor, my mentor. He's somebody that I have high regards and respect for. Pastor, can you talk very briefly as we start transitioning over to this criminal justice? And I also want to get back to Mr. Bright about AACI and its involvement in relations to criminal justice reform and how, he's bringing the community together to deal with this criminal justice piece. Go right ahead, Dr. Rush.
Yeah, well, so glad to hear from each of you who are on the line. I would just simply echo and ditto what has been said by Mr. Bright and Representative Bartlett in terms of the importance of the vote. We have about 85 plus days before the next presidential election. Today, I think it was determined that we have 5 million coronavirus cases and 162,000 people dead. And that we have more people dead from coronavirus than, and we have more people that have got coronavirus than the whole state of Alabama. We have more people that have got coronavirus in America than the whole country of Ireland. And so that's where we are. And that politics impact us greatly. If we had the right people in place right now, we would not have suffered those kinds of occurrences in coronavirus, and certainly not those kinds of death. 162,000 people dead means that we have more people dead from coronavirus than we have in all the wars since Vietnam, where we had 58,000. Since the Korean War, I think we had 52,000. Since Iraq, since Afghanistan, and since China, Grenada. So it really matters. The only thing I would add to what Representative Bartlett and Mr. Bright said is that we also have a census count that's coming up, and that's going to determine where allocations at the state level and national level is going to determine how we can be represented in the 92 counties in Indiana. So we need to, if we're going to be counted, we need to get out there and do the census. And so we're very concerned about each of those issues and, of course, about criminal justice. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's always our pleasure to have you. Certainly, you have a lot of experience down through the years. You're a person that should be admired. Mr. Bright, Willis Bright, I know that we seen some historic investment that came to your group here. There was certainly we felt that it was certainly needed, and also not only is it needed, but it's something that fits in the situation of desperation as we see how the African American community is suffering. And so with this historic investment, how do you feel like, far as this way of going about helping these not-for-profits get the services out to the people? That's the first question. The second question I want to ask you is, my observation has been that it's been hard to find African American led non-for-profits in our community that would get any level of investment in it that would be substantial enough to be able to carry out their duties. So I guess the question would be, how are you going to navigate your funding to try to make sure that the funding actually reaches the people who need it the most?
Yeah. I want to pick up on something from what Elder Rush said, and then I can slide into what has happened with AACI and the Urban League. We too are pushing people to fill out their census. The census, as much as anything, determines what are the lines that are drawn to determine what are the boundaries for legislative districts. And we are hoping not only that those everybody can fill out their census so that they can be counted, but that the lines can be drawn fairly and equitably. Because those are drawn by the parties in power, that is when the commission, when it gets together to do that, they can draw lines that are often done to basically reinforce the influence of the political power, and particularly the power of the organization, the Republicans and or the Democrats that have the majority. So it's not only a matter of us getting people to fill out the census so that we can know what the body count is around the state, around the region, but also trying to ensure that the lines are drawn in a way that doesn't end up discriminating, especially for people of color and Black folks, American, and other folks that need representation.
Let me jump in for 1 second, Mr. Willis, because a lot of times what happens is we know that we understand the importance of the census and in the sense of what you're saying, but on a large, it seems like everyone does not. And so a lot of times people are afraid with their information that it would be shared with people that would be against them some kind of way. So they say, well, why should I fill this out and why should I trust this process? It may be something good, but I just don't trust it. What do you say to those people?
I would say that the information that we have out there about us is already very extensive. And in ways, if people put information in Facebook, if they put information in lots of other social media, it is far less safe than the information that they would put into the census. And because of the importance of the census, it will not only be information that will be secure, but will be used to determine their future rights and abilities in the future. That's as much as I can say. Representative Bartlett might be able to add more to that about why that's important, but absolutely it has to be done. And this year, the census form is far shorter and asks far less information than it has in the past.
Okay, Representative Bartlett, can you respond to that?
Yes, your information is as secure, if not more secure, as putting your credit card on the internet. By law, they cannot share your information with anyone other than folk who are working in the Census Bureau, and then those folk who work there are bound by law not to share what they learn from your census information. So I trust it more than I do putting my credit card online.
Can I make a comment, please?
Go right ahead.
Yeah. I think that we're covering some really, really important terrain. There are two things that I think we need to. Representative Bartlett is in the House of Representatives. When I was political charge from the Concerned Clergy at the House of Representatives, as Representative Bartlett know, we used to go over there to the House, and there were 51 Democrats like him. And Bill Crawford was the House Ways and Means chairman. And I always loved to go and see Bill sit there with all those flags behind him and recounting the budget for the state of Indiana for 10 years back and going forward. We're at 31 now. And so Mr. Bright really hit it down when he started talking about the gerrymandering and all the crooked lines that happened when those who are in charge of this process start drawing these boundaries. So there are two things that I think we really got to look at. number one, saying what Representative Bartlett and Mr. Bright just said, get that message out there to our Black and brown brothers and sisters who are huddling and thinking that somebody's going to come and get them and transport them out of America, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Let them know how important that is. And the other part is to be very, very diligent in this run up to this election, with the president of the United States saying, I'm going to do a mail-in ballot down in Florida. Florida is the only state that can handle mail-in ballots, and doing everything he can to suppress the vote, and those around doing everything they can to suppress the vote. This is a major election, a once-in-a-lifetime election. We need to be diligent about this election, and we need to be diligent about the census, and that's all I would say.
Well, thank you, Dr. Rush. We do have a caller that has called in. And if you want to continue to be a part of this show, the number is 317-239-1310. Caller, go ahead.
Yeah, basically. First, I want to thank you for listening to Americans, basically because the freedom to vote is one of America's most hard-won political rights. And I just would like for Black Americans to realize the importance. Thank you.
All right. So I believe the caller was stating how important it is to vote. I think that was her initiative. But Mr. Bright, can you tell us about, again, ACCI and ACCI? Can you talk about that a little bit and how you think it's going to affect the community?
I sure can. The National Urban League was recipient of a $100 million grant from the Lilly Endowment. And the grant will be administered for programs and for processes to benefit the African American community of Indianapolis. The Indianapolis Urban League and the African American Coalition of Indianapolis are the entities that will be setting up the priorities, setting up the process for administering and recommending grants about projects and about efforts on the local level. This is a new initiative, and it is to improve the quality of life for African Americans in Marion County. And I can say that we will give great attention to making sure that the resources are, when they are expended, which will not be in 2020, will be more in time in 2021, after all of the processes and priorities are established. We will be giving major attention to African-American-led African-American organizations and others who may be doing things that can quantify what they are doing that is of direct benefit to African-American people.
Wow, I think that is a awesome gesture coming from the Lilly Foundation, that they would actually make.
Lilly Endowment.
Thank you. I stand corrected. Lilly Endowment. I think that is a wonderful investment. However, I want to go to Representative John Bartlett, because I know that you have been trying to get legislation, and really the show, if you want a theme of the show, we're really kind of talking about the criminal justice reform. We're talking about how far as the criminal justice system, we're just trying to wrap our arms around it. Mr. Bright, last week we got to talking about it, and it was such an intense show that we felt like that we just needed to pick this conversation back up. But before I go to you, Representative John Bartlett, we do have a commercial that we're going to play, and then right after that commercial, we're going to ask of you about what the state would like to do in relations to helping with this cause. Again, you watching Black Power Presents. I'm your host, Antonio Lipscomb. We'll be right back. Okay, our commercial should be playing right now on air.
Antonio,
Yes, sir.
I see that red cap on Dr. Rush's hat. Does it say "Make America Great Again"?
If it says Kappa Alpha Psi, that's all it's saying. Make America great again. Other fraternities that can actually do the work. You know.
I just thought I'd ask. You know, Elder Rush, you talked about voting and the importance of, but you know, one of the things that made me sick to my stomach, and it won't go away, is when our intelligence said that Putin was putting a bounty on our soldiers' heads.
Really?
And that man came back and said that he didn't believe it. These are people who lay their life on the line for this country every day. And it's the same to me. I took it. I've got 4 sons. If somebody came, Elder Rush, I've known you since day one, your day one, because I'm older. But we've always been tight. But if I came to you or someone came to you and said, John Bartlett is putting a bounty on your children's head, we just fell out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as commander-in-chief of this country, they put a bounty on your soldier's head and you defend the guy?
Hey, gentlemen, I have my technician trying to play my commercial. I'm going to have to mute you guys for a second so we can get the commercial done, and then we can pick this conversation back up, okay?
All right now.
Seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're back on air.
Yes, so glad to be back on the air. I am your host, Antonio Lipscomb, Black Power Presents. If you want to be a part of this broadcast, feel free to go to, on your phone, just dial 317-239-1310 to be a part of this conversation. We're just talking politics, talking about registering to vote, talking about making sure you fill out your census forms, getting enlightened through Mr. Bright and in relations to the AACI movement and the opportunity to be able to get funding out to the African-American community to help and support, as well as what's going on with the country here. And we try to keep our show local, but we got Representative John Bartlett started a conversation that I think that needs to be heard. And I think after he says what he has to say, then we'll go with Dr. Rush to kind of talk about this. But can I put a disclaimer out there real quick, guys? We got a local show here. We can't do the big thing on this show because we got the small audience and we want to capitalize on what's going on here in Marion County. But however, Dr. Rush, I know you love the big old pie, man, but we got to slice it down a little bit, Doctor. All right, go ahead, Mr. Representative. Talk with us, and then we'll hear from Dr. Rush, and then we'll jump right back into what's going on locally.
So the importance of voting is that we have to get out and vote, because right now we have a commander-in-chief who's stepped back when our intelligence has said that our soldiers have had bounties put on their heads. And rather than step up like a commander-in-chief should, he's stepping back. And I liken that to a father whose lifetime buddy, it's a bounty on one of his children's heads. And because the father this guy's a buddy to the father, then he doesn't believe that he puts a bounty on his children's head rather than investigating and find out about it. And I just think that is horrible.
Yeah, let me say this while you mention children, and I'm gonna go to Dr. Rush. Why don't you give a shout out about the the initiative you're trying to get done for the children? While you mention children, I want to throw that out there, and then I'm gonna hear from Dr. Rush about what he thinks about the situation over here as far as this bounty with the president.
Children on the Far East Side, our murder rate here in Marion County is atrocious. And so we came together and started a not-for-profit charter school on the northeast side of town at 4501 East 32nd Street called Him by Her Collegiate School for the Arts. Him by Her stands for Help Improve Mankind by Healing Every Race. And this is a school for the arts. We have complete wraparound services for our children. And the school will be from 8 till opens at 8, closes at 3:30. At 4 o'clock, we open to the community with after-school activities for the parents, for the big brothers, big sisters. Right now, we K through 2. We're enrolling now. So if you have a child that's K through 2, please go there and enroll at the Him by Her. We have a cultural sensitive curriculum. We have to meet state standards, but also incorporated with that, we have a cultural sensitive curriculum that goes with that. And if you have younger children that you have to drop off at daycare, we have that in the building as well. You have to pay for that, but then you can drop your children off for day because we have before and after school care right there in the building.
All right. Thank you. Dr. Rush, go ahead, man. I see you fidgeting, man. You want to say something so bad. That finger, look, let me show y'all something real quick. That finger keep going like this. He keep going like this. That man got to speak. Go ahead, Dr. Rush. Let me hear what you got to say, doctor.
That was Representative John Bartlett talking about this bounty on the head. He has a brother named Ernest. I have a brother named Arthur Laverne. Ernest went into the Marine Corps when all of us got drafted. My brother was a sergeant when he came out of Parris Island and took Ernest and protected him. But when Ernest was in Vietnam, and when all these guys was in Vietnam, when I came back from the service, I had to go over to Winona Hospital because Ernest was in the Winona Hospital because they put Agent Orange down. Now, the same guy that John Bartlett's talking about put the bounty on it. He had 5 deferments when he could have got drafted. They drafted my whole block. They drafted everything up in my whole block. Whole lot of the guys didn't come back. I was a paratrooper. Guys in my unit did not come back. They did. They gone. But this guy hid out. And he was a draft doctor on bone spurs when our guys was getting cancer from Agent Orange. Our guys were dying from the jungle and so on and so on. And so this is very local to me. This is, and I think that when we come up here and we're 80-something days away from this election, and we see what has happened, this guy puts his buddy in the post office to somehow slow down the mail because he understands that this is a virus, that he did not do it correctly. And these people do not want to go out here and catch this virus because it's a very serious thing. So they want to do mail-in ballots, and he's trying to make this election in ballot and that sort of thing. So there's a symbiotic relationship with what's happening nationally and what's happening locally. I think we just got to keep our eyes on the ball. We got to make sure we keep our eyes on the ball. So we got to do. You're Black and you're an American. You got to do both and. We need the Willis Bright. We need the John Bart. We need everybody. It's no such thing as Martin versus Malcolm. If we're going to win this, this is a very serious time for us. And we got 80-something days to run up to this election. We didn't make sure. We need to understand how heinous this person is, that he sides with Russia and Putin over against our intelligence over on this case where they're putting $100,000 up a bounty for these guys humping these hills. That's crazy, man.
Yeah, I understand. You know what? A lot's going on nationally, especially being that it's a it's being a national election coming up. And I know that all this information is important. So I think that as we move forward, we will kind of open up the show to kind of discuss people's point of view. But simultaneously, what I love about the late Amos Brown, what he taught me was when you're doing information, he said, keep it local. he said, keep it local. The reason why he said keep it local is because he knows with your arms stretching, you can only reach so many different people, and you want to try to maximize your backyard. I guess the gospel song with Reverend Rush being a preacher, I think the song says, sweep around your own front door before you try to sweep around mine. And I ain't going to try to sing it because I know all you guys would fall off the air. But anyway, listen, if you want to be a part of this broadcast, as we move on about, 15, 20 minutes, between 15, 20 minutes left, feel to call 317-239-1310, and you can get inside of this broadcast and talk about it. Now, these last few minutes, folks, I want to talk about what the show, theme is about, this justice reform. And I really want to talk about what's going on locally. Now, I know that it seems like everything is doom and gloom, but I got some news for you. I got some news for you. We've been working hard with our sheriff. We applaud our sheriff, our local sheriff. He's been nothing but a blessing to me. I'm just telling you my position. We're in the Marion County Jail 2, that's CCA 2, actually training people virtually. And we added on to our staff employability specialists so that when they call, when they get out, we're trying to have virtual job fairs so that upon release, they will have a job that they would go to. I believe, and I think Representative John Barley could solidify what I'm saying. I think it takes over $30,000 annually to house these guys. And so being able to take them off of the state budget or the local budget and have them be in a position where they're not being a recipient of our budget, but actually being someone who's a tax-paying citizen, I think that that's helping us, along with the problem with housing, the problem with drug abuse. I think that when we had the sheriff on our show last, he talked about how one of the biggest places for mental health is the Marion County Jail. And so we're just trying to figure out how we can fix this. So I want to talk to, as a matter of fact, since I got Mr. Bright on the line, I know I can always get Representative John Barley. He's my friend, but I know Mr. Bright is pretty busy. So I'm going to talk to Mr. Bright about this for a second. Can you help us understand from an AACI? By the way, I tell you, I am a proud member of AACI. I really believe in the mission and the vision of AACI. I think that it's going to be able to help bring all these different isolated pieces of us working in a variety of different pockets. I think that through ACCI and Black Chamber of Commerce and others alike, that we could get some work done. So, Mr. Bright, can you talk to us about this criminal justice reform piece and how you see it, and maybe how we can get some help in trying to curb these problems?
Well, yeah, I mean, I would say we have to look at all levels of the criminal justice system in order to make it a justice system. We not only have to look at what are the things that are putting people in jail, but what happens when they are there, as well as what is provided for them when they leave. To think that we can have someone leave prison and have a record that is not expunged, that will allow him to find employment, that's crazy. because if somebody has to wait 3 to 5 to 7 years to get a record expunged, then by that point in time, he is either recycled or has been able, hopefully, to find his or her way without that being done. So why can't we make our prisons a place where people can be educated while they are there and to get some job training while they are there, so that when they do get ready to come out, they are in a much better position to be able to find a job, as well as to change the laws that determine who in fact goes to jail. That's beginning to change around the country, where, for example, a lot of drug offenses, which has sent thousands of Black men into jails for long periods of time, when those who are basically bringing the cocaine and bringing the drugs to the community get very short terms, some of the folks are figuring it out that we don't need to have people in jail for that long. Even locally, the prosecutor is saying we won't even handle certain marijuana cases. But we know that the police, they have not agreed to that. They will still arrest folks. So we've got to work to make sure that some of those things get reconciled, as well as to continue to put pressure on the prison system to educate people, to truly rehabilitate people, and to provide supports so that when people come out, they've got the best chance of being able to find employment, to restore their families, and to move on to be full citizens again. And we also have to make sure that we protect the right of people who get out of prison to vote, because there are some states that are trying to roll that back or eliminate the possibility of people who've been in jail from even voting.
Wow, man, I'm so glad I called on you. You laid it out. And far as let me say it like this. I'm currently helping people who can't afford to live anywhere else. Transitional housing. They can't afford to live anywhere else. I brought up early in our show about this enforcement of eviction that's getting ready to take place, Dr. Rush. And some of these people, as far as their mental health state, they seen this act of not being able to be put out as a means of being able to not pay rent for 5 months. And obviously, there's provisions that have been made to try to help them, but because they try to manipulate the system, it seemed like it's going to backfire on them, and then you're going to have a flood of people trying to get into church without homes and stuff like that. So let me ask Representative John Bartlett about that. Then I'm gonna come right down that line to Dr. Rush.
Ask Representative Bartlett about what? We were supposed to talk about criminal justice. We're about to run out of time. We're not going to get there.
Oh, well, you're right. But what I mean, but reason why I went down to homeless, Dr. Mr. Representative, is because a lot of these people that are struggling with homelessness, a lot of them are ex-offenders. You know, a lot of them have mental problems and stuff like that. And so, you know, how do we deal with these mental health people not going back to these jails? That's what my question is.
Okay, let me say this. For the last 3 years, I've had a bill in on criminal justice reform. And this is a complete study of our complete criminal justice system. There's some talk on the streets about defunding the police, which I think is a mistake. Mm-hmm. Some dollars need to be rearranged, maybe, but not defunding the police. But we need to look at our complete criminal justice system. It's flawed. Our Constitution of the great state of Indiana says we will not use our criminal justice system for vindictive punishment. That's exactly what we do. Mm-hmm. There is no you cannot go to a facility and show me where there's rehabilitation going on. We need to look at that. We need to study that. We need to know if Antonio Lipscomb is stopped with the police and arrested, goes to court, goes to jail, to court, go to DOC. We need to look at that complete process and rewrite policy that would make things better for our citizens. We are using, and I think Dr. Bright spoke to this, mental health. The three largest mental health facilities in America is LA County Jail in Los Angeles, Cook County Jail in Chicago, Illinois, Dade County Jail in Miami, Florida. And we've began to use our criminal justice system as our mental health facility. We expect our policemen to be mental health folk, and that's not what they signed up for. So we need to break all that down and look at it. Also, in my bill this year, I added to that. I'll be presented in January, but we need a criminal justice commission. So when there's a police action shooting in Indianapolis, all my buddies don't exonerate me. But this is done by a commission that's set up by the state with NAACP, Urban League, and those kinds of folk. The president of or their designees sitting on those boards so that we can get a fair shake. The late Representative Bill Crawford, that Elder Rush referenced a while ago, always said, if you ain't at the table, you own the menu. And so we have to be at the table. And then too, black folk, once they get to the table, they can't get whiter than the white folk. So you have to be a part of the solution. And if you're not, you're part of the problem. I need everybody to write your legislator so we can get this criminal justice bill on the table and get it heard.
Well, let me say this. We have a website called IndianaReentry.org. I would like for you to send me that information so that we can start posting this on our website, what bill you're talking about, so we can start getting a list. And I know I can talk with my mentor and pastor here to because he's heavily involved and knowing a lot of these people, so that we can actually start pushing this. Dr. Rush, what you got to say about this?
Yeah, I'm so glad we're on this. I wish we just take a whole session with this. One of the things that we need to understand, just the numbers. When we asked Representative Bartlett to go with us over Duval, and Representative Bartlett asked him, "What is your budget?" They didn't want to say it. Here's the reality. We found out their budget was $20 million. We found out that they wanted to go to the new jail and extrapolate their capacity up 4 or 5 times. They're going to be doing $100 million a year. Here's the reality. There are, contingent upon who you ask, 340 to 350 million Americans. There are 7.8 million people in the world. That means America's only 4 or 5% of the world's population, but we're 25% or more of the prison population. And many of those are either black, brown, not to the manner born, the least, the lucky, and the left out. You are a commodity. That's what's really going to happen. So what we have to also do is look at the present system, but think again about the file that nobody sees. There is a reason why the prison system is that way. And if we don't do some things with economic development, we can do some front end things that would prevent us from having a prison system that ballooning on black and brown people. And so I, as we talk about this and talk about prison reforms and about defunding or funding the police department, all we have to do is look at other industrialized nations. They don't have this issue. We've done this by choice. We have prisons on the Wall Street, on New York Stock Exchange by choice. That's what's happening. We have to rethink that. And so as we talk about it, yeah, let's reform the prison. Let's do as Mr. Bright said. Let's look at the criminal justice system. Who gets chosen as judges, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But we also have to do some front side. There are people that don't need to be in the prison if we appropriate funds correctly in the first place. If we have schools that work for everybody, if we have opportunity to work for everybody, because I'll say this and I'll shut up. If people can't make a living, they're going to take a living. That's it. Or as King said, the ride is the language of the unheard. So we need to do some front side stuff. And if we do that, we can just look at all the other industrializations. They don't have this issue. We have it by choice. Build bigger jail, hire more cops. That was our process.
All right. Well, that's so true. And I want to come back to Rep. We're going at about 4 minutes left. And so I'm going to go right back to Representative John Bartlett to just kind of say what you said again about this law. Can you say that again? And then I want to work with you outside of this and broadcast so that we can actually start getting that done.
This law is a criminal justice reform. We need to study it and not know 1 or 2 sessions. We need to look at this, and there needs to be a commission developed from this. And we don't need buddies taking care of policemen when they kill one of us. See, one of the things that if you notice, if a policeman kills a white person, they go to penitentiary. If they kill a black person, they go get get training. And so, I've never understood the difference. Every time somebody black, we gonna give them training. And when you kill somebody white, police officer, you go to penitentiary. So our system is just flawed all the way through. When we seizures, our Constitution, the state of Indiana, our Constitution says when they have forfeitures and seizures, that money is to go to the common school fund. But that money is going to the prosecutors and different ones. Our Constitution says we won't use our DOC for vindictive punishment. That's exactly what we do. We punish folk who do wrong. We don't rehabilitate who do wrong, but nobody's holding the elected officials accountable that can make this happen.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. We got about 2 minutes left, and at these 2 minutes, if you want to, I want to talk about Dre'Shawn Reed the next week, because I think that's what Representative John Bartlett kind of spoke, kind of piqued our interest on making him a topic for next week, because if he's not talked about, I think, because here's the thing, you brought up black and white, but now we have black officers killing other black people. So this needs to be talked about on how we can stop the culture, the culture of these killings. So I'm going to go ahead and let Mr. Willis Bright kind of bring this to a close. We got about a minute left. He's going to bring what he has to say to a close, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, I'll just say to Representative Bartlett, we annually have the Black Legislative Caucus come to our meeting to hear what your proposed agenda will be in the legislature. We will try to make that earlier enough in order to be able to be of support for the things you all want to do, and to give you all some backing in making sure that the things you want to put out there in front of your colleagues get a decent hearing.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so that's awesome, and that's powerful, because when we unite together, then we will be able to make it. And I know right now they should be signing me off the air because it's 7 o'clock. But I want to thank you guys for coming on. I do want to pick this up, Dr. Rush, next week, if you're available and the Lord wakes us up. I would like to finish this conversation, because I know we talked about criminal justice reform. However, I think the behavior and the culture of the police, as it relates to what Representative John Bartlett was talking about, I think we need to talk about that. And I think we need to even hear from the police, what their perspective is, and trying to see how we can put our community in a holistic approach. Representative John Bartlett, did you want to get 30 seconds and Dr. Russ 30 seconds, and then we'll go ahead and wrap this thing up?
Yes, the policemen are citizens as well, and they have to take that into consideration. We can't be shooting down. You were sworn to protect and serve, not catch and kill. So, like that, a policeman's job is to apprehend me and take me to jail, to arrest me, not to execute me. And for stealing a car, or for going into a grocery store, stealing some food, and I run. So because I ran, you execute me for stealing $25 worth of food. So, like, as we have to change the mindset of all this, and we have to do that through policy. And that's why it's so important that you go and vote and get those folk at the polls and get those folk elected who's going to look out for your best interest. Thank you.
I agree.
Absolutely. Dr. Rush, go ahead and give us your final remarks, please, as we bring this a show to a close.
Well, as regards to police, obviously, I've had a long history of dealing with the police and prosecutors since Michael Taylor and going forward. And what we all have discovered after 8 minutes and 46 seconds on is that when you start talking about the police department, you really have to talk about the unions. Here it's the FOP, but all over, it's the unions that drives it. It's the unions that terrifies mayors. It's the unions that talks about what Mr. Bright talked about, any type of civilian review. It's always the unions. And so my idea of a police department, if you start taking these cases one at a time, you're going to miss it, because it's a culture that you got to deal with. You got to deal with the unions, and you got to have the citizens take back the ownership of the police department and hire people with some judgment authority to do what their job description is, and to promote and to incentivize them if they do it, and to fire them and prohibit them from going to the next police department at Speedway or Cumberland if they don't. And so that's that conversation.
Well, I totally agree. And I want to say this in my conclusion. I was just very excited to have each one of you gentlemen come on this show to express yourselves. I know that you guys are highly intelligent. All of you all mentor me to a certain extent. And I want to tell you how much I really appreciate your involvement, and also your willingness to share your heart. It's very clear that no one's playing games on this show. I mean, everybody's real sincere about what's going on and how we can turn things around and leave some level of a great example and legacy to our children. So, gentlemen, thank you again. This has been a wonderful broadcast. Black Power Presents broadcast. Just want to give a shout out to Reverend Thomas Brown for actually giving me the name for the show. He said Black Power. I said, uh-oh, but I decided to be brave enough to name that anyway. So, gentlemen, thank you for taking your time on this great, wonderful beginning of a week. This is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. But at the same time, I believe I do have some hot potatoes and some biscuits and gravy and things of that nature that I need to get to. So you all have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and peace. God bless. Peace.
Peace. Peace.
Peace.